I started dancing when I was 6 years old. I did ballet and I did tap, and I loved the music, I loved to move, I just enjoyed it. So I think that's what came across when I used to do my little competitions. I never had nerves to perform in front of people because it was a joy for me to dance.
Rita and Mavis were like about 18 months apart, okay, so they were always close in everything. And then I sort of like came along 5 years later. So I wasn't really part of them, but I always envied them. They always had this fluid movement. I used to try and dance, but I was like, sit down, Sheila.
Suddenly I learned Spanish dance, and that became a passion. I just loved it. In about 1962, 63, I met my husband. And it was a whirlwind romance, and we got married very fast. It was like he asked me, and then a year later we were married. So in 1965 we got married, and we had Louisa, our first child, a year later. And then 2 years after that we had Jonathan, our son.
So I always remember being sort of like absolutely enchanted by my sister Mavis. I was so proud of her. You can't believe it. She was like, everybody, you know, it's like everybody knew who Mavis was. Mavis was the dancer, and she was famous. You know, they were both famous, Rita and Mavis. But Mavis sort of like got into the newspaper all the time because she was picked by Lucillo, and I was just enchanted by her. And I still, to this day, I'm still enchanted by Mavis. If she gets up, she's got this like fluid movement. You just, you know, you just want to watch her. She has a you can't take your eyes off her when she's on the stage.
I developed, as I got to know her better, saw the amount of work that she did and what she put into it to make sure that a coherent and enjoyable show was presented. I was so taken up with her ability to do that I stopped in our marriage being a dictator, and I started to be a serf.
My husband was most supportive. He was absolutely, he loved me to dance, and he loved watching me dancing. Of course, he was very proud when his daughter sang when I danced. And Jonathan used to help backstage as well. He was also full of fun, and the dancers in the company used to love him.
I had a huge respect and a love for her, for what she achieved during the times when they danced at the Oda Libertas, for instance, and she brought some famous Spanish dancers to dance with the company.
In 1978, Stellenbosch Farmers Winery had just recently completed their Oda Libertas amphitheatre, which was absolutely beautiful, and they decided that that was ideal for Spanish dancing. And Marina and I were in on the initial negotiations with Andrew Murray, and he said we should do a show there, and Marina thought it would be nice if we could do a ballet, but we needed a partner for me. So I had heard of Jose Antonio, who is Spain's #1 dancer, and we had Emilio Acosta here at the time. And I went to Spain and I saw Jose and I talked to him, and he was the most wonderful person besides being the most fantastic dancer. And he agreed to come, much to my delight, and he came here. Marina choreographed the ballet and he did the flamenco part. We even had classes, inviting all the Spanish dancers of South Africa to partake in these classes. It was a most fantastic success. And since then we've had him back twice.
So we had an amazing time. My life was actually just so exciting, and the passion that I had for the dancing just carried me over my life. It just steered me on, I think.
There's still people around who come to me and talk to me about those shows at Oda Libertas and how much they enjoyed it. And I think that went a long way towards establishing Mavis's and Dancer Lorca's renown in Cape Town and further afield.
10 years old, I became a student in, I think it was grade 2, was my first Spanish exam that I did with Mavis, and went right through to advanced and in Danza Lorca from the age of 18 to the age of 33 when I retired from the stage.
I think she was a fabulous teacher. She was absolutely fantastic. I'm actually grateful for her. In that time, you know, that was the other South Africa, and she gave me lots of opportunities that I could go on stage, go in places where other people never had the opportunity. So I had lots of opportunities, and we had a close connection, and we just had wonderful times.
Much my experience with Mavis and Danza Lorca has been a true guiding light in my own career. What I can remember is never settling for anything but the absolute best. The smell of rooibos tea during my classes, which used to make me feel a little nauseous, so it was I couldn't stand too close.
Being able to access to all of those who in the company, Mavis herself for example, who was continuously being fed professionally, learning more and bringing back choreographies and so on, it gave us that, again, connection that we wouldn't have had. We absolutely wouldn't have had stuck down here at the tip of Africa. So it's been absolutely amazing, and I think about, I suppose in many ways I think about particularly the core bunch that we worked with, and including Mavis as a sort of a type of a family that has existed in my life, you know, for a serious period of time. Yeah, so it's been an incredible impact, it really has.
Dance at that time, being it modern, the Spanish, the tap, the ballet, we were very fortunate that we had all these incredible teachers that could nurture you and instill that love of dance, no matter what genre you chose to go into, just to give your best and do your best and to enjoy and just love your craft and your art.
It was just a continuation of a very big family that keeps growing. As I have my students, as I have had my own company, as I meet new people. But the core is really with Mavis and with Danza Lorca, and having been in Cape Town during those wonderful 80s and 90s.
One of my favourite stories there was Rodney always just being so helpful to all the women and carrying the suitcases. And
so here this train's coming in now. Mavis has given us like the most avid instructions about how fast we have to get on, because it stops for 1 minute, and if you don't get on you're going left behind, and everyone, you know, got 1 minute to get on and off. And Rodney had on, I remember it clearly, like one suitcase strapped over him, over his body like that, and then one in each hand. And the reason was only because we had extra costume suitcases, so it wasn't that anybody had not carrying their own bag or anything. And as he stepped on, his foot went between the platform and the train, like right down onto the track. And there was Rodney standing on the tracks, one leg down, one leg up, and two suitcases in his hand, you know, and I will never forget that image actually. And he was so unfazed by the whole thing and just sort of carry on and, you know, get up and we move on, you know. But, you know, those are the days of incredible camaraderie and just making it happen, you know, the age old, the show must go on. It was very, very, very special times.
It was my first access to like-minded people, and the drive of Mavis, the leadership, the fact that she was a brilliant dancer, that's another story, but the leadership, the drive, and the love and the compassion.
It was a busy life. It was a busy life, and the dancing really kept me young.
Now, I'm not quite sure when Mavis started teaching Spanish dance at the UCT School of Dance, but she was there for a long time, since the 90s, I would say. But over the years, she asked me a few times to accompany her when she gave castanet concerts. And so this working relationship developed over, I would say, a decade or two. She was always modest. Unnecessarily so, I would say, you know, because she's quite brilliant, but she was always prepared to listen to my opinion. She was very seldom demanding, and I always felt good working with her. And because she's a real born performer, and doing a performance with her, one is always sure of having a good audience response.
So I met Mavis when I started working at UCT School of Dance in 2012. I just moved from Jamaica to Cape Town. and I met this amazing lady and heard about Spanish dance and was quite shocked by how popular Spanish dance was in South Africa. You know, I just thought, coming from Jamaica, which is surrounded by Spanish countries, Puerto Rico, Cuba, I mean, the last place I thought to have Spanish influence was South Africa. You know, this sophisticated lady with such amazing knowledge in Spanish dance, amazing spirit, such a giver, really amazing teacher who really was able to move students, even whether they were beginners, you know, whatever level they were, to look so professional and refined. At the end of the day, or end of your concerts, I was just in admiration of this lady. I thought, this lady's got talent, hey?
And that was just the way Mavis has always been. No airs, no graces, such a phenomenal dame now, and nothing stops her, just the way she takes everything in her stride, the way that she has inspired so many people around her and worked with us, and I think that's what's so beautiful. It's like a performance that she did the day before she was having a knee operation at the City Hall with the orchestra, the full orchestra, and there she was doing the castanets and footwork, and came off stage and said, okay, now I'm going to go to the hospital because tomorrow I'm having a knee op. And it just showed us the discipline, the ethics of being a professional dancer. The show must go on and will go on despite any and everything. And I think that's what makes her Mavis.
Well, I think she has a boundless energy. She is now in her 70s, but when she performs, the times that I've accompanied her, she becomes ageless. She has a beautiful theatrical face. She has beautiful grace, and there's something fiery and engaging in her. And she obviously loves what she does. In fact, if you had to ask Mavis tomorrow, I always say, would she like to perform in a garage in the Sahara Desert? She would say, when are we going?
My first impression was quite a formidable lady. I wasn't sure what to expect, and I really thought that I would be going in and it would be a piece of cake. And Mavis then started teaching me how to even walk again. Sort of, this is how you walk when you do Spanish dancing, and that was, I thought I sort of knew it all, you know, having danced before. She had such a passion for what she was doing, and she very easily imparted that passion onto someone.
It's difficult to be not affected by her positiveness, her enthusiasm, her passion for life, and how she just, I think she's like a mother hen, bringing everybody in, her little chickens around her and putting them under her wing, and you feel that you're really under her wing and you're her little chicken, and she's keeping you warm and she's looking after you, and oh, she can be hard work. Oh, she could be hard work.
Mavis was being a guest artist, but actually she's the organizer and the choreographer and the mother for all of us children who are there and everything, you know. It was just, so it's really intense to kind of do that.
Got to say something. Oh my soul. Mavis would come into class. Now we're going to prepare for a show. She wants to start a new show, and she comes in and she'll walk in with her handbag and she'll plonk it down, and now we're going to start learning for a show. And out of the handbag would come, and she'll dig out, and she'll take this envelope and she'll flatten out this envelope, this scrumpled up envelope, and she'll start reading her scribbled notes, her choreography, that only she could not always read. And we'd look at her and she'd stand there doing whatever zapateado and teaching us off this scrumpled up piece of envelope. And that is how all our shows were done. Learned off scrumpled pieces of envelopes, and she never ceased with these, and invariably they were used envelopes as well. And I used to think, thank heavens that Mr. R, he was always Mr. Mazinta first, and I thought, thank heavens he's got a stationery shop. Thank heavens he's got this endless supply of stationery and envelopes for Mavis to write all her little scribbled notes on.
We were doing a performance at the Artscape Arena, and Clive, Carlos and Stephen Stradom and I were on stage, and Mavis was doing a cigaria, and we were three males. We had the black pants and the black shirt on with a red scarf. Still did quite a lot of makeup in those days. However, Mavis was doing a cigaria, one of my favorite rhythms. It's 5 deep, all of that. And she had a big shawl, and in the front row I think we had somebody in a wheelchair. And Mavis's shawl, as she was doing a quick little twirl, got stuck into this poor man's wheelchair in the front row. And for a second there, Mavis slipped this guy along the front of the fringe of the stage as she was trying to exit in a dig drag fashion off stage. When you look at the video, you'll see how the faces of the 3 male dancers, Clive and Stephen and I, are turning even more red than it was before from makeup, because we had to kind of contain this laughter. It was hysterical.
Mavis couldn't get anybody to dance, so it was me, Mavis, Louisa and Mrs. Becker, who was of an age at that time, but still very eager to go out in the water. Anyway, so off we went to Tiger Valley to do a show, and we did it. We did a 45-minute show with 3 people and Mrs. Becker, our clack, actually. Anyway, coming back, I was living in Long Street at the time. Coming back, Mavis decided to take a shortcut through District 6. And her mom was sitting in the back with me. I think Louisa was sitting in the front. Right, we took the shortcut. Mavis went up a one-way and the cops stopped us. Fabulous Afrikaans cop at the time. This was in the 80s. Around 87, I would say. Very Afrikaans. Stops. Mavis gets out the car. Lady, do you know that you went up a one-way? Oh, I'm very sorry, officer. I did not mean to do. Yeah, but lady, you did. Yes, I'm very sorry. So, and there's Mavis. Mavis stood up, and she had a very nice bosom at the time, and she sort of arranged it on the roof of the car. Which I suppose I would have done as well, had I had an ample bosom, but I don't know. So he says to her, lady, what's your name? It's Mavis Becker. Oh no, hang on, it's no, it's not that, it's Mavis Mazinta. Lady, don't you know what your name is? I'm sorry, I get confused sometimes because I don't know, because you know, lady, how old are you? I'm not going to tell you how old I am. How old are you? Mrs. Becker from inside the car. Mavis, tell the man what he wants to know. We're all going to land up in jail.
I owe a lot to Mavis Becker and Danza Lorca and all those artists whom she brought down for her concerts, you know, who have taught me many things over the years. And I'm still using some of the ideas up to date after many, like almost 40 years ago. I'm still using the ideas. So I would say thank you, Mavis.
Mavis is an incredible teacher, a loving mother, and a truly wonderful friend. What Mavis has done for me personally is to impart this deep passion for flamenco and Spanish dancing.
If it wasn't for that base, if it wasn't for that period in my life, if it wasn't for the kind of values that were instilled by Mavis and by other Spanish dance teachers like Veronica, like Carolyn, whereby artistic integrity was everything and professionalism was everything, and those sort of principles, those tenets that were instilled in us already at that young age and in those early days, obviously have come a long way.
And we always had incredible opportunities, you know. Mavis always stuck me on any stage at any opportunity. So as a result, as an adult and also as a director, there's actually very little that phases me in the theatrical environment, because been there, done that on any size stage with any, you know, situational circumstances, and yeah, and that like tasks you for life, most definitely.
But they were amazing days on that bus trip, going to Stellenbosch, going to rehearsals, it was also my first taste of what the rest of my life and my career was going to be like. And for that I'm really grateful, and I'm very happy that it happened to me. Thank you, Mavis.
I know that without Spanish dancing I might have become a very boring young woman, and moving into an older woman. And here I am at 38, no, is it 48? Or did we stay 48 for long? No, I had to go further than that. 58, my daughter's 50, so we're a little bit older. And I'm still passionate about Spanish dancing. So I've got a very blessed life. And my husband enjoys coming with me as well, as do my children if they're around. My son has always been very supportive from afar. My daughter's most supportive from near. So I'm very blessed, and I don't want for any more. I've just had a wonderful life. I'm not stopping, but I've enjoyed it.